And this is not going to be about that, but it is going to be about a theme that can come up for us, especially for those of us who were awakened souls. What does that mean? You realize that life is not about just doing the mundane things. Life isn't just about doing what's expected of us, that your soul came back to do things differently, to anchor in, not into the paradigm of what society tells us we should do, not into the paradigm and like even like the societal conditioning of, well, this is what I'm supposed to do from my childhood conditioning. Waking up means realizing that your own inner internal compass comes from a higher self, from your soul self. Whereas for the longest time, we can learn how to dim out access to that inner light because again, we get this conditioning of like, well, I got to do what my family says. I got to do what my parents say. I got to climb the corporate ladder or do the thing that like society says to be successful, right? So we begin to learn how to dim out that inner access to our calling for the shoulds and the supposed tos. But if you're an awakened soul, if you've been a part of this experience and this journey that we've been on together for the last year or however long you've been in this space with me, you realize now that you are mapping back into operating from your higher soul self, from your heart's desires, from your passion and purpose. And sometimes, many times, that's going to feel maybe with friction or resistance to the outside world. It can show up like for many of you who've been in this world and who you've even just been walking this spiritual awakening path. It can even feel like I'm awake, I'm open, I'm anchoring into my soul purpose and calling. But for example, why is it if you're watching this in real time, December of 2025, why is it that the outside world still feels like it's burning down? Why does it still feel like chaos is happening all around me? Or why does it feel like I'm doing the work and I'm plugging into myself and I'm anchoring back into my truth and purpose, but when I stand up for what I want, my husband gets mad or my kids start to like my kids seem bitter because it's like I'm not being what I was before. Or my friends, it's harder for me to connect with my friends because they're like kind of maybe still on, and I say this with as much love and respect, but it's like, they're maybe still on the hamster wheel and still like in the thing. And they're like, whoa, what is she doing over here? So it can be very easy to still like you've had your awakening, you've answered your soul calling, and yet it can still feel like, why does it feel like everywhere else around me there's like this friction, this misunderstanding? So today, the guardians of the records want to remind us that at the end of the day, I want your inner compass. I want you always to come back to the world that's happening within you, that you're not crazy. I'm just hearing like from some of us, from our inner child and from our ego cells, like sometimes they're like, are we the crazy one? Are we the crazy one? Because we're holding out for love and a higher vibrational planet. And even though I open up my phone and I see it looks like the world's burning down and people are still killing each other and poverty is still a thing and my husband's still mad at me because I forgot to pay the bill. Like it's very easy to for like the self to look at all of that, the evidence and the ego to say, maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I'm the one playing in La La World. And what the guardians are saying to remind all of us who have like decided to come to the planet and have decided to wake up, it's a little bit from that. It's funny because it's like from that. I think that this is the Mel Robbins phrase, "Let them." And I don't know much about the let them theory, but that's just what they're kind of streaming in right now. So let them think you're crazy. Let them think that you've gone off the deep end. Because when I say that you have access to an entire world within yourself, I mean that. And I'm not crazy. And you're not crazy. And you know that the place that you can do your best work, the place where you can tap into your soul calling, which then you bring forth actions into the real world that make a real difference, all happens in here. It all happens when you simply drop down into your sacred soul self and you anchor and connect yourself back into Gaia, because Gaia and Mother Earth is a living, breathing entity. It comes back when you allow yourself to awaken and open back your upper channels and allow the streaming from higher levels of consciousness come in. It happens when you begin to remember and you begin to witness within yourself and you allow the visions to come through. You guys, you are not crazy. Allow the visions to come through. You are holding a higher vision in your heart of what the planet could, should, and will be like. Whether that's from, you're healer on a healing mission and you're here to help more people heal past their pain and bring in more unconditional love within themselves. Whether your calling is like, I'm meant to share hope and like my art with the world, or I'm meant to speak and share my story with the world, or whatever, whatever it is. Like, it's even from the simplest thing of dropping within to the world within yourself. And you can see what's happening in the external world and you can ask, I cannot change everything. I cannot solve all the world's problems. I alone am probably not going to solve world poverty and all the wars, although you could be like our president and you could claim to do that, but like you can't really do that. So it's not that. It's not coming from I have to solve everything, but it is dropping within yourself, within the soul self, and asking, but what can I do next? What am I being called to do next? And you guys, that can be from, like, never think that anything is too small to make a ripple effect in the world. That's what the guardians want you to know. Nothing is never too small to like make a huge ripple effect in the world. So maybe there might be days where there's chaos happening in the world, or this person's mad at you, or whatever's happening, and you drop within yourself and the guardians just say, you know what? Tonight, just love yourself and have a bubble bath. Or, you know what? Like tonight, just reach out to a friend and tell them you love them. Or, you know what? Just show up at work tomorrow, or in your practice, or with your people tomorrow. Show up with your most present self and allow them and hold space for them, and just allow them to show up and be seen. Whoever's on your schedule today, just allow them to show up and see them. Meaning it can be something as small as that to something as big as, like, you might drop into your heart space one time and they show you like, look, you are meant to like dominate the healing world and you're meant to bring through this whole thing. You're meant to help hundreds of millions of people through your art, through your practice, through your work, whatever it is. The guardians are just saying, you just drop in and you ask, what is the next step? How can I bring more light and unconditional love to the world? And it always starts within. So whether it's something that they're telling you to do within yourself, or something like a small action that you can take in the outside world, big or small, that's all we're being asked to do. Then the guardians are also reminding us that the more we do this, the more we anchor back into this simplicity, which is just like coming back within yourself and asking, what can I do next? But what the guardians want us to remember is that when more of us awakened souls do that, it creates this grid. And that's where we begin to tap back into our collective power, which is when I continue to like drop into this practice within myself. And then Lynn does this practice within herself. And then Molly does this practice within herself. And then someone over across the world, across the sea in Germany does this within herself. And someone over in India does this within herself. When we all do this, we create these sparks. And that's literally how we begin to change the vibration of the planet. So each of us individually get to contribute to this ripple effect that happens. And that is how the outside world gets changed. That is how things begin to change. And it will even be how we begin to create harmony and resonance, even within our smaller ecosystems, even within our family system, even within our work family system, and whoever else you're in community with. Is that each day when you show up for yourself, when you drop into that inner world, that like, let them, if people think you're crazy, if people think whatever, but like, you know that it works for you. And don't have any like shame or like, who am I to do this, or why me, or any of that coming up. Anchor back into the self. Anchor back into your soul mission, purpose, and calling. Remembering that you really just need the next step. So with that, what I want each of you to do is I want each of you that if you're watching live or replay, I want you to take a moment to drop into your inner world. I want you to drop down into your sacred heart space. I want you to anchor back into this root of unconditional love. And also, I want you to tap back into the realm of infinite possibilities. I want you to tap into the realm of infinite possibility within yourself. That's what you get to access when you go into your heart space. You're tapped back into the realm of infinite possibility. Now, as you're in your sacred heart space of unconditional love and infinite possibility, the guardians want each of us to take a moment and to reflect back on the world that we know that is possible. And while the current outside external world, that is planet Earth, populated with humans, while it may not reflect this yet. Now, in the past, I've done some work with each of you in some different form or way where we've done timeline work where you drop within yourself and you see your personal individual timeline, like, right? Like you maybe are future casting into the vision of your future self. But right now, if you would, I want you to actually drop into the timeline of Earth, of the humans, of the world. Because yes, while we each came back on our own individual mission, purpose, and calling, at the end of the day, many of us as souls traveled back together to raise the collective vibration of the planet, to raise and transform completely how things happen on Earth and how we can do that from a more community-driven, loving way where we can release shame, resentment, bitterness, and guilt, and it's released out of the collective energy, and we step more into this loving vibration of helping each other out, helping out your neighbor, helping out your friend, witnessing each other more as the souls that we are, not who we look like on our outside surface skin. And so I actually want each of you within your heart to now set the intention. I want you to anchor into that higher vibration of the planet of Earth. I want you to witness within yourself a vision, a knowing, a feeling, anchoring into what the planet could look like, will look like when we continue to this adventure and when we continue this work that we're passing down to younger generations. That in, let's say, 100 years, leadership has completely transformed. The old systems and paradigms have fallen and given way to a newer form that's tapped into more community and unconditional love. And I want you to take a moment to remember why you came back. Even outside of just your own individual mission, but why we all came back and what we know the planet can be and what we know how things can look like when the humans raise their level of consciousness and tap back more into their soul self and unconditional love. I want you to see it. I want you to feel it. Even if the feeling is just that, unconditional love. I want you to see the web of connections that we create as souls on the planet. How we're all interconnected. I want you to witness how the pulse of one heart connects to the pulse of all the hearts. That one inner flame from one human and soul also powers and amplifies the inner flame of other humans and souls on the planet. This interconnectedness of community and love. I want you to hold steady that vision of why you came back. And within that, I want you to remember that's why your own individual spiritual practices, soul purpose and calling, your individual daily routines, this is why it matters. Like, it's not selfish to be like, well, I feel like I gotta like solve world peace and world hunger, so I better like go outside of me to do that. It's like, no. The reminder here is like, this is why the individual practices matter. This is why the inner awakening matters. This is why the inner individual healing journeys that you're each on matter. Because when you do this, your flame burns brighter. When you do this, your connection and your vibration raises higher, which therefore positively impacts the grid that you were just witnessing, the grid and your connection to all beings, to all vibrational, living, high conditional beings on the planet. It's all connected. And it's through that relationship that I also want you to continue to prioritize your own individual practices. Continue to prioritize your own individual healing work. Prioritize your joy, your commitment, and your discipline to your soul purpose, path, and calling. Because within the matrix, it matters. It lifts everybody up. And then I also just want you to honor and remember as you're on this path, as you're walking this path of an awakened soul. And imagine like you're looking out at the sea of people, the grid of people. And I want you to remember that everybody came back with their own soul mission, purpose, path, and calling. And anytime our humanness, because it's our human, this is like part of the humaning. Anytime we get into that like judge, well, like, why aren't they coming along? Why aren't they healed? Why is this person being so vile? Why is this person so angry and mean? But I want you to remember you're also witnessing another soul, someone else along the grid. And they came back for their own path, purpose, mission, and journey. And I just want to remind the self that we can't lift everybody up. That would be too like heavy. So it's not so much that you're meant to like drudge someone else along to help the grid, because again, all you could do is go back within yourself, light your own inner flame, tap into your own soul purpose, path, and calling, prioritize your own healing. And the guardians just want to remind you that like, as we look out at the expressions of people who we're going to continue to witness and come into contact with on planet Earth, that honor everybody's journey, respect everybody's journey. But remember, you can't do the work for anyone. That is their journey. That is their work to do. You can only be an inspiration and a beacon of light. You can only continue to anchor and tether into your own inner power. That is the best thing you can do for the matrix of people, the matrix of consciousness, and how we're all ebbed and flowed together. And just witnessing and honoring their sacred journey. And also remembering that you get to choose. You also get to choose. So just remember that you get to choose who's in your energetic space, who's in your physical space, who takes up your time and energy and capacity. And remember, you also get to practice loving boundaries with others. Because the best thing you can do as an awakened soul is to protect your own inner light. Good. So you guys, like, this is what we needed to remember. It is happening. It is happening. And the other thing, like the guardians are like, because when it happens, you guys, as this shift's happening, because the shift's already happening, okay? But when it happens, like, it's not coming in like a big door closing. It's coming in quietly. It's coming in quietly, and it has to. It has to in order for this to work. It has to in order for this new paradigm to really be ushered in. It has to come in quietly and gently, and this ripple effect of like the matrix, blah, 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 blah. Because if it comes in too fast, it's not going to hold. It's not going to hold. So we are like through all these little connections that we're each making and the ripple effects that's happening within me. And then all of a sudden I go see my college roommates and we gift each other these woo-woo gifts and like all of that, like through these little minute moments, we're beginning to build the infrastructure out. So all of a sudden, before you know it, you go to bed and you do wake up and this is the new norm, but it's because it came in quietly and gently. And it's like, they're just saying like, because we have this top layer of like hate, shame, anger, violence, war on top. Also, it's like weird, but like visually, they're just saying it's like this new ushering that we're bringing in. It has to come in and around and under and push up the old. So it's also why it feels like the hate, the shame, the anger, the violence. It's also why it almost we're feeling like it's being just thrown in our face heavily right now. Because as the new is coming in and it's rooting itself under, it does have to push the other layer up. It does have to push the other layer up, but it's breaking away.
Yeah,
It's
and I
great.
think if it came in too big, it would be too destabilizing, right? Like
Yes,
it's gotta get those roots and that like grounding to hold us.
yes,
That's
yes.
what I
And
visualize too.
and it has to happen at the community level, right? Because it wouldn't go over well if all of a sudden somehow if all of the new leaders were put in place and it was like this the guides and the mystics and the spiritual people and like people would reject it if it came top down, right? Like that wouldn't really work. It's why it's coming in at a more community level rising up. Yeah. So there is hope. There's so much hope. I mean, like, there's more
Yeah.
than hope. There's endless, infinite possibility, and each of us are thing. Is
Mm.
that like I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like the teens are getting involved, the young adults are getting involved, the 20 somethings, the 30 somethings, the 40 somethings, the 50 somethings. I mean, we have seen like veterans out protesting in their 80s and 90s at some of these things, like whatever their causes and whatever they believe in. But like it's getting cross generations involved, and that's how we know that it's working. You know what I mean? That's how we know it's working because everybody's getting involved.
Yeah, you're right, and it is really cool to see, um, just people of all different generations. It really strikes me, younger people, because I didn't feel like I had any power, but I love seeing young people be like, "No, I have power. I can take my power," like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So good.
it's really cool.
It's so
So
good.
thank you for the reminder.
You are so welcome. And I realized I kind of yeah, trusting of how this all came out and everything. This was amazing. And ultimately too, like, this is going to be something that if you ever just feel like disconnected from like, oh my God, the outside world, what the hell's going on? And you need to come back to this to re-listen to just remember. It like change is happening. It is happening. But we all can have our low days. We can all be human, right? And just be like, what the heck is going on? So I want to honor that. And so with that, also